Hi, I'm Phillips. Welcome to my top trade tips. In this video, I'm going to show you how to install an electric towel rail. And the tools you're going to require to install it: spirit levels, rubber hammer, grips or adjustable spanner, tape measure, cordless drill, screwdrivers, a detector, the 4 brackets that comes with the unit, 2 blanking plugs and an air vent, the fixings and a drill bit for drilling the tiles, the inhibitor, some water to mix it with and a funnel to apply it, and of course the towel rail and the heating element. Now this particular towel rail is heated by an electric element like this, so of course you have to have power nearby. We're using a spare and fuse which is already wired up, and the element comes with about 1 meter of cable on there, so your position of where you're going to have your towel rail must be within 1 meter. I'm going to have mine quite close, so I'll trim down that wire and connect it up later on. But first we have to set the rail up itself. Both the top and the bottom of it has 4 plastic bungs in the end, so I'm going to start by taking these out. That's 1. There we go. 2 out. Same again, the opposite end. And this particular model doesn't have a top or a bottom, so you can choose whichever one you want to be the top or the bottom. So I've got 2 blanking plugs and an air vent. I'm going to start by fitting 1 blanking plug and 1 air vent to this end, which is going to be my top. But before you tighten all these up, we must apply some PTFE tape on all the threads. So they start by hand tightening in. Quite easy to start with. You've got a little rubber washer on the end of them. Once I've got them as far as I can by hand, then I either get an adjustable spanner or a pair of grips and just tweak those a bit tighter. Not too tight, because remember it's not going to be mains water pressure in there, but it is going to be filled with water. Probably about 3/4 of a turn. And I'll also put some tape around the actual heating elements as well. So that's going to be my top of the radiator, the air vent in one side and the bung plug which is blocked it up on that side. So this bottom left now is where I'm going to install my electric element in here, and that's going to be connected to this. So lie this back down and screw this in. So I've tightened that as far as I can by hand, and again I'm just going to take my grips and just take it round about half a turn. I'll spin that round. It's in line with the front, and that's about the position where I'm going to be fixing mine. But before I put the 4th and the final bung in there, I'm going to mix up the water and the inhibitor and pour it in first. I'm going to be using Bathroom Mountain's R101 radiator inhibitor. These bottles are 250 millilitres, and I've got 1,000 millilitres of clean cold water there, so I'm just going to put in about 50 mils, which is about 5%. Give that a little stir up. Now different towel radiators of course are different sizes, so they're going to hold a different amount of fluids inside, so do check with Bathroom Mountain when you're purchasing it how much liquid you do need to put in your one. I've emptied a tiny bit of that out, so it's 95% full now with liquid, 90% water, which is about 3 litres, 5% inhibitor and 5% air. So I'll put my last closing cap in there now. Tighten that up, half a turn. Now the next stage is to work out your position where you want that on the wall and screw and fix the 4 brackets into your tiles. It comes with 4 brackets to mount it to the wall. So check your installation manual, and that refers to 2 being on the bottom, which is on the second to bottom rail here. And then of course 2 being on the top, which will be on the second to top rail here. Now space-wise between them, it doesn't give you an exact space, but what I'm going to suggest is round about 50 millimeters in from either end there. Aesthetically it'll look nice on the eye, and it'll certainly balance out and hold the weight of the unit. So I'm about 250 millimeters apart here, and that's for a 400 width towel rail. These actual pieces come apart, so we unscrew this section off first, and that allows the back piece to come away. This is the piece that's going to be screwed to the wall. This piece gets fixed to the actual back of the rail itself, and then once this is in the wall, like so, and this is attached to your rail, this then goes in between there. It's leveled up, and the screw is put back in either the top or the bottom. The bottom, I think it will be, and that should hold it firmly into position. So now I will loosen the jaws of this part of the bracket by unscrewing that screw, and that will allow that to be mounted around. Place this one back on the back, and then screw that back in, tightens it up, and it closes the jaws onto there. So now that has gripped that quite well. It can be slid a little bit left to right, but once we've got all 4 of these on into position, we can then get our measurements between, which we said was going to be about 250 mil for a 400 wide rail, and then we can take our measurements from the top to the bottom. Same again with the second bracket. Loosen the jaws up, and the same again the other end. So that is our 4 brackets now installed along here. You can take my tape measure, 60 mil from one side, 60 mil from that side on the outside edge. Gives me about 250 millimeters gap between the center of each bracket, and the same again at the top end here, about 250, leaving a 60 mil hangover on each end here. Now the next thing now is these bits, the ones that fit onto here. So each one of them, we've got our distances at 250. Now we take our distance from top to bottom, which is 800 millimeters. I just need to transfer their measurements along here, depending on what height I want it. 250 apart, and then 800 gap between them, making sure they're level and square. So once you've decided on your location and your height from the floor, before you drill any holes into your tiles, you can use a detector to work out whether there's any electric cables behind there, or even copper water pipes. Now the drill bit I'm using is designed for drilling wall tiles. It's got a flat surface on there. Now to start with, it's quite difficult. Normally you would be like this, drilling into a wooden wall or a plasterboard with a masonry drill bit, or even a brick. But when we come to drill tiles, we have to start it on an angle, rotate the drill like this, and then start to slowly press the tip against the surface and bring the drill up to a square position as it goes in deeper to the tiles. And then once we've got our hole drilled, we can apply our plugs. So once you've got your plug in, take your spirit level and transfer the level across here, round about your 250 millimeters apart, and then you can take your tape measure and make sure that lines up there with your 250 and a little mark there. And that is now your next drill point. Then we're going to take a measurement 800 millimeters above there, perfectly level, and that'll be our third point, and again across 250, which will be our fourth point. Hammer that in flush. Take your screw and your washer and the other half of the bracket. Slide your screw through there. Start to hand tighten it with your fingers the best you can, and then get your screwdriver on and send it in all the way. Or if you want to do it a bit quicker, get yourself another cordless and drive it in. Here we go. One's nice and solid in there now. And then you can focus on the other three brackets. Drilling the hole slowly through the tiles, applying the plugs, then placing the brackets into position and driving them firmly in place with your screwdriver. Double checking that they're level. Then you're ready to lift the rail into position, clip it into the 4 brackets, then wind the screw in below the brackets. This clamps them both together and holds it firmly into position. So that's your towel rail now firmly secured to your wall. All it needs now is connecting to the mains. Now, if this wasn't in a bathroom environment, you could simply put a 13 amp fuse on there and plug it into your standard 13 amp sockets outside. However, you can't have a socket within a bathroom area. You have to have a spare fuse on there. I'm not allowed to, by law, give you advice on how to connect up to your mains. So unfortunately, if you can't do this yourself, you're going to have to employ an electrician to do it. So that's how you install an electric towel rail. If you're looking for more inspiration or how-to videos, don't forget to follow us on all social media handles. And if you want to see the vast range of products that Bathroom Mountain stock, check out their website, bathroommountain.co.uk.